You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use our code Locked On College at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan, coming to you from the greatest state in the greatest nation in the history of the world. Happy 4th of July Eve, everybody, or whenever you are consuming this. If it's on the other side of some fireworks, hopefully all the digits still intact. If you're recovering from a skin graft, thanks for watching us during your rehabilitation. Hope everybody is set for a great 4th of July or had one if it's already gone by. But Chris, this is a treasured time within the sports podcasting or sports covering business, because we have the opportunity to now dive into explosivity, bomb squad, home run hitters, guys that can take it the distance. So we'll be naming some names today that we feel like fit those descriptors for the Red Raiders. And in general, before we get out of here, I got to touch on the fact that I just feel like Texas Tech is moving on up in this area. You sought some of this offseason, and I think in a lot of different ways, a lot of different spots, you actually landed some of this. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and shout out to all the artillery shell purchasers over the next 24, 48 hours out there.
Absolutely.
So yeah, good luck with it, man. And again, make sure you step back and don't assume that, hey man, is it lit? I'm not real sure. Yeah, don't be peeking over the edge there. Otherwise, you might get your hat blown off.
True, Chris. But what is a fireworks show without a little mishap? You want like just one mishap, one safe mishap.
I mean, yeah. What could possibly go wrong? Lots of alcohol, lots of lots of fire, and possibilities.
Kids with lighters. I mean,
wrongdoing. That's right. That's
what the USA was built on.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the old fireworks packaging. It basically it's just like a once a year ability to go buy breakfast cereal. That's why they always put the Fruity Pebbles and the Fruit Loops and all the Lucky Charms all go on the bottom. So when you're riding on the cart in the grocery store at the very bottom, and mom or dad or whoever's pushing you, it's at your eye level. And so that's when you walk into a fireworks stand, it's like it's like, oh my God. I mean, Black Hawk and right. the cheetah finale or whatever. They get all these fun
atomic bomb.
yes.
Apocalypto.
That's right. And it's always like shot, but there's the number 100 shot, 50 shot, 25 shot, 2,000 shot, whatever. You're like, dang, we can really mess some stuff up here.
This will never end.
That's right. My ears are burning. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's start the podcast. Great to be back with you on Locked On Texas.
Yes. Okay.
Where do you want to start here with these guys? Because I feel like there's quite a few different places we could start.
Yeah, Bruce Feldman puts out the freaks list, and it runs the gamut. And my goal here was, these aren't all offensive skill players. These aren't all even players that can, going to have the ball in their hands, whatever. But like picking up commentary over the last 6 to 7 months from, outsiders, folks that coach these guys and media availabilities and whatever, things that have been written. I tried to research this and put this together. This may be inexact, but this is what I'm going to give you. What is wild to me is I talked about this before we started taping this show, is that there are some years where there's some no-brainer additions, and there's years where you're like, okay, this guy and this guy for sure, but I don't know who else. That may be a problem with this team. Not a problem with this current version. I think that's a good thing. Because let me go over what I think is the consensus group.
Okay.
And why I think that so many people, PFF, internal thoughts, outsider thoughts, whatever, like your defensive line is because I think 3 of the 8 or 9, 10 names we'll discuss here are consensus. Everybody's going to agree. And none of those names I'll mention include Lee Hunter. So, and he was a second team All Big 12 guy. Exactly. I think in any conversation, whether you're basing this on GPS numbers, weight room numbers, or he can run this fast and he weighs this much, or however you want to phrase this, twitchiness, some of this is opinion, some of this is hard data, but David Bailey, he's over 245 pounds. He's clocked it at some point, and I think fairly regularly, he's over 21 miles an hour on the GPS. That has typically been reserved for like your skill players, your running backs, your DBs or whatever. No, this is an outside linebacker / defensive end that at 245 can flat out get it. I think you look at Romello Height, another linebacker and edge guy that is at 237 pounds, also over 21 miles an hour. Here's the one name I'm going to throw out here to you that we have probably failed him a bit, and shame on me for not. I'm done not talking about him anymore. I'm not so certain that one of your best players on your team that just hasn't gotten any rub for various reasons because of all the other pieces and because of Lee Hunter, and rightfully so, second team All Big 12. We hadn't talked about enough, and I think he's a consensus thought is Skylar Gill-Howard.
Mm-hmm.
He benches 400 pounds. He squats 600 pounds. You will hear that he is literally a madman when it comes to working out. That for being 5'11" and 290 pounds, that it just simply doesn't get any twitchier from a guy that this with these measurables. He's got the production. I think that what has now become kind of a new thing in football, or more, there's a different thought. I think these guys are certainly viewed differently as relates to the NFL, and it's the interior defensive lineman that can also rush the passer. I think you saw some free agency with NFL, and it's like there's almost these terms that they're coming up with because typically we always thought, hey man, he's a clogger. He just soaks up blockers and like he lets everybody else. That's the way we've always kind of thought about D tackles before. But now everybody's spread out, and so now it's like the interior guy or the 3 tech or whatever, 5 tech, however you want to phrase it, is now asked to win one-on-one matchups and go after the quarterback. I think Skylar Gill-Howard is a consensus one of your most explosive players. I love the word twitchy because it's like other stuff out there. You just know it when you see it. And like a dude that big typically doesn't move that fast or whatever. And again, so that's 3 defensive linemen that I've given you that should, to borrow Cowan's phrase there, that should be scratching everybody where they itch because it's all concentrated. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think. I mean, typically, I knew we would broaden beyond like offensive skill players or guys like that, because that's what you think about a lot when you're considering somebody being able to be explosive for you. But I didn't think we were going to lead off the conversation with a defensive front, and that's something that just reminds me kind of what I've been thinking this offseason, Chris. In that, if you would have only made the additions that you did along your defensive line, I mean, it would have been a Christmas-esque offseason. If you only did that, right? I mean, forget where else you went, but we've talked about it. Anybody that's watched any football for a period of time knows the trenches are what makes it go or not go offensively and defensively. But if you had just put together this defensive front, man, I'd be grinning ear to ear, I think, all offseason. So just one of many exciting angles, obviously, as we get into 2025. Do we stick with anything else defensive, Chris, or should we flip to the offensive side of the line of scrimmage? First, today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it can be easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. You're going to love the all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com and our code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
I think one of the so we'll get to some offensive skill in a second. When we go over some more of the defensive guys, I think AJ McCarty, speaking of GPS numbers, he's clocked it over 22 miles an hour. And we did we talked about the draft in recent weeks. I mean, he's on some of these lists, and I guess I was like, okay, but see that now it makes some sense. When you take an experienced player that can just flat out get it and flat out run. I mean, this is moving, man. You and I are, I don't want to speak for, I'll just speak for myself. I'm probably a 6 or 7 mile an hour guy. So when you're talking 22 miles an hour, I think that's substantially fast.
Speak for me too.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Okay. A list that talking about this, it is incomplete if you don't mention the name of Michael Dingle. This is somebody that lists like this are made for when you have this package. Now, does he have all this experience yet? Does he have all the production that comes with it? No. But when you just look at the athlete, and he's kind of come in and he's kind of pushed his way to the front of the depth chart at star, which I think kind of raised some eyebrows over a guy like AJ McCarty.
Yeah.
I think that this is somebody that he finished fourth in the Big 12 in the conference in the 110-meter hurdles. He's physical enough to play linebacker. He can cover well with guys coming out of the backfield. And I go back to that story about him when he first was here, and I've never seen a player in all my years of doing this, when he ran out there, it stopped traffic. And because everybody on the sideline was like, oh, Mike's going out there. And it was just like, weren't watching the ball, weren't watching down and distance. It was like, what is he going to do? Because something's going to happen. So I think he belongs in a conversation like this. The other consensus guys, there's two offensive, like Terrence Carter was somebody that I think belongs here, not heavily, because I think his 6'2"-ish, maybe a little bit taller, and his 245-pound frame is not supposed to really move that fast. So it's a matchup problem. And so I wanted to make sure we mentioned him. But the other two offensive guys, I'll start with a wideout that I think has just been glossed over by way too many people and not talked about enough regionally, nationally, whatever. It's Caleb Douglas. When people look at, they're Texas Tech's counting all these new pieces, they don't really have that much returning. Man, pay attention. Caleb Douglas is the second leading receiver in the Big 12 conference as far as returning back to this year. The only other one is Jordan Tyson, who's thought to be like a first, second round type guy. I also think about Caleb Douglas in that, like Joey and Blanche, they've mentioned this before in various settings where Caleb Douglas reminds them of Denzel Mims, who was a Baylor player who was picked in the second round by the Jets a few years ago. But I'll even go one further. We go back to that game versus Arizona that was played at damn near midnight last year in Tucson, and the guy manned up on over the top of Caleb Douglas was a kid named Takario Davis. Takario Davis is thought to have a big time NFL grade and all the things, but he's trying to improve upon that. So he transferred to Washington, But Caleb Douglas lit him up for over 100 yards that game. We remember a couple of those long catches because they were game changing, and that's an NFL corner. So I just think that Caleb Douglas belongs, on something like this. Then the other one, and then you'll like this one. This one will be fun for you because I think Cam Dickey is another name. Okay, I want to make sure that I throw his name in here. Cam Dickey's got he squats a house like 500 pounds. He's also 21 miles an hour on the GPS. But the name that, because I think you and I love this kid. We are buying stock. We are fans. We are all in. Is Jacoby Williams.
Yes.
Yes. Jacoby Williams also over 22 miles an hour on the GPS, and he also squats 500 pounds. And I think when you talk about twitchy and like toughness, I mean, there were some of those shots that he took in that Liberty Bowl game versus Arkansas to where I thought, oh God, is he going to get up? And not only would he get up, he was banging his helmet and he was showing them his teeth. And he was like, I want more, you silly pig. I want more, you stupid, smelly Razorback. Like, bring it on. Is this all you got? And he just bounced up and he just got, but I mean, you would hear them talk in the spring. Like, I think as good as your defense may be, and again, a lot of guys were hurt, a lot of guys set out, so it's not like this full complement or even close to it. I think they had a hard time tackling him. In space. I think he's got it. I think twitchy. I think he's got weight room numbers to prove it. He's got the toughness to prove it. Watch the heck out for Jacoby Williams. And Quentin Joyner also, your other running back, he's also a 22. So you've got some fast running backs. I mean, three of the guys we've sat here and talked about are running backs that are all 21, 22 GPS guys. So anyway, I think it is notable that you've grown here as a program.
Yeah, and hope to stay in this kind of neighborhood. I mean,
yeah,
not just with obviously what you've been able to do from a talent perspective, but the explosive aspect, all of this, something that's been sorely missing in some years gone by. And I just can't enjoy any more to leading off a conversation like this with a defensive line angle, but wrapping it up with somebody like Jacoby Williams, just as enjoyable. And it says a lot when, I mean, to me, one of my memories from Jacoby last year was him being in on a play early in the season and just slobber knocking a guy as a blocker. And that, you look at Jacoby's measurables and you don't expect that type of physicality or fearlessness necessarily, but you can't measure the attitude. And I learned right then that he definitely plays bigger than those measurables might have you thinking that he would. But yeah, Chris, Tech has moved on up into a different kind of neighborhood this time around. We'll see if they're able to assemble something like this consistently, but we've been begging for it in some cycles gone by. And I think for the most part, we got it this time. Dynamic impact. I remember talking so much last year, specifically say, like about your pass rush. Like maybe you're getting some pressures here or there, or maybe you're doing some things that are sort of close to being what you want, but the dynamic impact was not there in the way that you wanted it to be. And I'm hoping maybe that's changing this year.
Yeah, well, and like Chet O'Feely, Howard Sampson, there's some others that I just didn't have time to really get into here. But I mean, there's a lot of folks that you could consider as like part of the bomb squad or twitchy or whatever here. But you're right. I mean, this is different because big people beat up little people, to quote Joey McGuire. And, speed kills. So that's what you're trying to put together here. One of the other guys, too, that I didn't get into that I don't say he was consensus, but, again, this is another name, Davion Carter. 475-pound bench, 650-pound squat. And then, he's kind of moved into that starting lineup. We mentioned recently, like draft gradable, again, small package or smaller than normal, but checking some other boxes. So I wanted to mention that. You got any good before we get out of here? Do you have any good? You got a favorite fireworks stand story? Because you and I have both been in this. We've had the fortune,
we've been in the business,
or the misery of selling pyrotechnics to all parts of West Texas back many years ago. And it's always an experience. It's always an experience.
I was Mr. W loyal. What up to the Mr. W gang? And I was never miserable. It was probably the grandparents that were presiding over me and cousins running these stands, and our sweethearted grandmother spending a couple weeks in an RV with us while we're running these stands. The misery might have come into play for her then. I was always just having a great time. Also, when my grandfather had to write that personal check to a farmer nearby for a couple of hay bales that unfortunately had a collision with a Roman candle. Not at my hand. That was a cousin's fault. I'm not going to take the blame for that one. Probably some misery there as well. The closest I ever got was also the only time I've ever gotten a tetanus shot. That was at the Mr. W fireworks stand, or a result of it, I suppose. That one wasn't so much fun, but I had a ball every year. I love this time of year, and some great memories once upon a time being in the fireworks business. How about you?
I was a TNT guy.
Okay.
My godfather, grew up running Atlas Enterprises in the Metroplex with his brother, and they used to sell. They used to do this like for the Ranger games. I went to a Michael Jackson concert in 1984 at Texas Stadium, and they were doing like concerts and like that kind of pyrotechnic. Okay. Well, years later, they moved out to California, and he started going to work for TNT. So he's like one of the higher ups of TNT Fireworks nationally. And so back 20 years ago, or 18, 22, somewhere around there years ago, that's when the concept of these stores, like, hey, we're going to rent this warehouse and just turn it into like a giant fireworks stand, right? And it's like, I need somebody in Lubbock. So he calls me up, and he's like, dude, I need you to get a bunch of people, and we didn't know we were doing this out in Wolfforth. But you know how these fireworks things go. It's like the law says you can start on June the 24th, and it goes until midnight of the 4th, whatever. But all these days leading up to it, it's kind of quiet. It's kind of boring. Well, you get out there, and we're out there, and all the fireworks inventory is in a metal building. And we're out there, and everybody's just kind of bored, and we decided to pitch in. We liked the name of one of these preloaded, finale type pieces. So in our wild youth, we decide, with all of our cars parked there and the doors open to this building, we decided to take this thing that we've all pitched in like $10 for. It was like $80 or something. We put it on top of a railroad tie. Like, let's give it some height. Let's give it some height so we can all see it.
Right.
Well, Chris, you dumbass. What's going to happen when you light it and the thing shoots off? It's going to fall off the top of the railroad tie, and it's not exactly like you can go pick it up and put it back on, because it's alive, And this thing, I mean, it starts and like it's turning and it's shooting at us, and like if one of these shots goes into this building and lights this. Thousands of dollars of inventory. Like, I mean, oh boy. So we're all just chasing around it. We don't have any idea if it was a good item or not, or what it did or whatever, because we were too busy dodging it. Our own fault. But yeah, I've never forgotten that. I mean, it's,
look, like I already said, the mishap is part of the experience. All right, there's got to be a little mishap here or there. I do recall also enjoying seeing the various things that would be written in the memo of a personal check that was written for fireworks. And of course, being in the area that I was, a lot of farmers coming across it, and I saw over and over farm supplies. Of course, need some combustion to get after these gophers and whatnot, I'm sure. It was all for agricultural purposes, Mr. Tax Collector. All right, Chris,
it's an all cash business, and so there's no shenanigans going on any of it.
Not at all. Yeah. Not at all. Keeping a strict count.
Uncle Sam, I got to tell you, I didn't participate in any sort of fireworks stand running at all. That was just a joke. Just fun stories, right?
All the records from that era, unfortunately, lost in a boating accident, and there's just nothing we can do about that at this point in time. Chris, appreciate your time as always, man. Happy 4th of July to you. Have a safe one wherever you are spending it, and we'll catch you on the other side.
Absolutely, man. Be safe. The best place to live in the world is our lovely country. So we will all celebrate it accordingly. And yeah, be safe, be happy, and keep all your fingers intact, folks. Yeah, good advice.
Whatever you come into it with, let's leave with it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Keep your guns intact. We got a big season coming up.
Yeah, we don't want
No,
like that, right? Yeah, like you got.
That's illegal too. That's a sawed-off barrel that you're working with right there. So we can't even go that route. But happy 4th of July, everybody. Get back with us on the other side. Of course, we'll be getting into Big 12 Media Days next week and some conversation leading up to that and plenty to digest, I'm sure, from that event. So we got a whole lot to dive into coming up as football season nears. Appreciate the time as always. Thanks to the everydayers for always being out there, and a shout out to the Matador Mob as well. Hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial if you're interested in joining that outlaw crew. Bet there's a tetanus shot recipient or two rolling around in that gang. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one texts sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey, and as always, we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.